Hey everyone, Sycra here, and welcome to another episode of Pointy Chins. Now, in the last episode, it was called Ribbons, and what I learned is by understanding how to fold a piece of paper or ribbon, it actually carried over into many different things. So, understanding how a piece of a flat plane, how it twists, and then later a plane with some thickness, how that twists and how that bends and how to render that. That helped me understand things like hair, the twist of a body, how folds and fabric work. And so I thought, okay, that wasn't like drawing the hands or drawing the legs or drawing a face or something where you're kind of learning one specific thing. It's more learning about a principle. And so I started thinking, are there other principles that I'm not really confident in that I could learn? Because to me it was much more rewarding to find that I could apply this to many different things and not just one thing. So I thought, yeah, I'm not really sure about how to make objects look squishy. So in the body, for instance, there's a lot of areas like the butts and breasts and things, but also just legs, areas where there's a lot of fat and they could be squished. It's also things like this, where you just have an object and it's squishing into another object, and how do you make it look like that object is having weight pressed against it, and how does it deform? And this was something I didn't understand how to do, but I wanted to be able to do this. And so I'm exploring shapes, and some of the shapes make sense, but some of them are really abstract, and some of them are just like this, where I wanted to understand how to make a finger pressing into something, and what pops out and what is hidden. And I don't think I did a good job with these two fingers. So the point is, like, I know that I need to be able to do this. I know that it's possible, but I don't know how. And so these are just attempts. Just like, well, could it be like this? Could it be like that? I felt that it was important to nail the occlusion shadows. And what occlusion shadows are they're parts of form where light doesn't get in. So for instance, if you take your finger, right, and you bend your finger, it's going to create a crease, and within that crease it's very difficult for light to penetrate, and so you're going to get a darker shadow. And that's what things like this are. They're occlusion shadows. This is suggesting that these two forms, like maybe it's clay or something, and it's pressing against another form, and there are areas where the light won't get through, but there's areas where the light will still have a chance to bounce around. And even if this is a line that appears, it's not going to be so dark. And because I have ink, it's a choice of either I make the line or I don't make the line, but I can't make like a lighter line. Like, it's not like painting where I could just use gray or something to suggest that this isn't as dark as black, but it's not as light as white. So instead, the way you do it is using broken lines, and this suggests that yes, this line does continue this whole way, but it's not the same amount of definition across. And this is also something you can apply to things like lips. So there's that in just more abstract forms. I mean, they sort of look like things and sort of don't, but again, like here, it's like, does this look squishy? Does this look like fat? No, not really. Something like this, it's sort of close, but again, it's very difficult, for me anyway. It's very difficult. And I tried adding tone, like, okay, what if I add tone? Does that help? Here, I didn't think it actually helped that much, but in this one, it seemed to. Like, this does feel more fleshy, and I don't think it's just the values. Maybe it is just the values, but again, just these forms. And I'm not sure exactly how to talk about this in a way that's very helpful or to explain it, because again, I don't really understand it, but it is a sense of understanding how certain things work. What are the principles behind them? So here's just some more things squishing, these two circle things. Like, what if they squish together? And is that how certain objects work? Again, here I'm trying things like I don't know if this is a thumb or a finger, but it's pressing into something. And does that work? Here I'm trying a twisting motion. How does something twist? Here I think it's a bit better. where you have this kind of thing, and then I just thought, what if it, almost like a melted ice cream, but I suppose this has a bit more structure than that, and how would it deform so that you look at it and you can tell. And I think the important thing is understanding how the weight is distributed, how you would get sort of this lump at the bottom, and you don't want it so much like a teardrop, although the teardrop principle is being, it's there, but it's more like a bit more flattened out, I suppose. And here, almost like this is a bag and it's being airlifted away. Well, how would you convey that it's got force acting upon it? And I don't know if, again, I think this could be done better. But again, this was my try at the time. So just some more squishy things. Now here, I guess I tried a little bit more of the ribbon stuff with this. I guess it was sort of like a bra strap, but then I just made it its own ribbon thing. And then going back into a figure. And then what I wanted to do is, when a girl wears tight stockings, or a guy too, I suppose, you get this thing that happens, which is that the fat bunches up and you have a change. And I was trying to get that. I thought that was pretty interesting how that works. But I wasn't sure how to get that. And I talked to Flavia, and what she told me is how it's not very even. It's the more fatty areas that get squished, and so the skin squishes more, but then the fabric holds the skin and the fat in more where it's where you're wearing the stockings. It's compressing, right? So you would get more squish towards the inner thigh and less squish on the outer thigh. And I thought, oh, okay, so that's how I really have to think about this. I cannot just think about it blindly, like, oh, I'm just going to take an object and make it look squishy. First of all, I still had trouble with that, but second of all, it's not how reality works. So here I thought, yeah, this is kind of more like it. This does feel like this has weight to it, and it's being affected by gravity. And maybe this too. I felt like, yeah, sure, this looks like there's a compression against the leg. And here I guess I got tired of the squishiness for a little while, and I decided to do some figures. I guess there's some, I like this one, this person here. And is there anything else? I think this one's pretty cool. A little bit of squishiness here, so you can see how it translates over. Like, you work on these principles, and I've never really heard of this before, about really working on certain principles, but maybe it's just that I wasn't aware of this, and maybe it is talked about in certain disciplines. But it was cool to me to be like, okay, let me work on a principle instead of just one thing, like how to draw dogs. Well, it's better to learn how muscles work or how bones work or something like that that you could apply. And here's some ribbon stuff. Again, it doesn't look like a ribbon, but it's more of this S curve that I feel much more confident with after exploring ribbons. And yeah, so that's that. And back to some more squishiness. I was also thinking that I have to get the shapes, because, okay, I was talking about very, like, this is the pointy chin thing, so very sharp shapes are kind of what I do, but then squishiness was all about very rounded shapes, very smooth curves and stuff, and it's like, how do I have my pointy, sharper, edgy, angular style and still have these things? Because I didn't want to compromise. And sometimes people say, why are you doing this? Why are you forcing this one shape language, this one thing? This isn't how reality works. You'd have so much more breadth to it if you did more. And to that, I would say that I want to see if I can do it. And also, out of limitation comes very interesting solutions. So there's a painter named Anders Zorn, and he would use black, yellow, red, and white. And using those colors, he would paint the entire painting. So no green, no blue. And so how does he mix a green? Well, he would mix black with yellow, and he would use that color for his greens. And these type of things where you've got an extreme limit on yourself, it makes it so you really think about essential concepts and how to portray this. It becomes challenging, yes, and then maybe it's a stupid challenge to some people. They think, oh, that's unnecessary. And for me, why are you only sticking to a triangle if you have circles and squares? Why don't you incorporate all of them? And I think I will incorporate more as time goes on, but for this stage, I really wanted to try and maintain this pointy, sharp, angular thing. And here's some more ribbons with a bit of twisting. You can see it's not perfect, but there's a bit more twisting going on here. So here again, it's some more figures. Again, adding angular things and trying to remember, like, yeah, it's nice to do curves, but try and apply it to sharper images. And here's some thumbnail ideas, just trying to maintain things. And now here again, it's where I'm taking something very round. So this is very round. And now let's make someone walking. So when this person's walking, you know, the fat, it creates certain creases and stuff. And then it's like, okay, so take this and then make it more angular, and does it work? I don't think so in this one. I don't think it's the perfect example of it working, but I do think the idea is sound, that there is a way of getting this to work. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, going back to my old very sharp, pointy shapes, but trying to bring in what I learned about occlusion shadows, what I learned about how how fat squishes and areas of tension and areas where there's less tension, and just using everything I can to make my work better. So in the next episode, I'm going to be talking about hair, and I don't know if this episode helped. I really hope it did. But regardless, thanks for watching.